to the Soma Talks podcast, sponsored by Coda Kitchen and Lux 45, the lifestyle boutique, and Senor Sangria. I'm Lee Nadlin, and once again, I am joined by the dominatrix of the Dominican Republic.
Oh my God.
Ileana Castillo.
Oh my God. Yay. How are you?
Whipping everybody here in Soma into shape.
Oh my God. Dominatrix. That's funny.
Yes, I should have said the Dominican dominatrix, actually. That's how I wrote it. I got it backwards. I flipped it a little bit. But I write these things on the fly, everybody, you know. But that's basically. So, Ileana, it's good to be back. We're doing it again.
Yes.
We weren't sure we were, but here we are.
I know.
So Ileana was a little late. Apparently, you're getting your nails done. I'm to understand. That's why you're a little late for today's podcast.
Yes, I was doing my nails, preparing for tomorrow.
So you go out, you have someone do that for you, right? You don't do that at home by yourself. That's where do you go? By the way, we could give them a shout out.
Oh no, I go to Kim Nails, right next to Coda.
Kim Nails, okay, all right. So Kim, so you Kim Nails, and you could go have a drink afterwards at Coda Kitchen.
That's what I usually do from there. I jump to Coda for a drink.
Or you drink then the nails. I
Yeah.
guess you could do either. Or you could do both, I guess, right? You could drink nails back to drink, but
that too. I've done that too.
Depending who's there.
That's true. Depending who's there
or not there. But Ileana, we have a fantastic show today. We've got so much going on.
Oh my God.
We have in just a little while, ladies and gentlemen, we have two rabbis that we interviewed a few days ago. It's Rabbi Daniel Cohen of TSTI, that's in South Orange, and Rabbi Matthew Gewirtz. He is with B'nai Jesuin in Livingston. And the two of them are talking to us about antisemitism in Soma, amongst other places. And they're really disappointed with some of the things that are going on, and they really.
Can you blame them?
No, I can't blame them. And it was we had some technical problems during the interview. I'll get into that later, but stick around for that. And we are going to dive into this letter that was on Medium.
Can you talk a little bit about that letter for those that have no idea? Because they haven't posted this on every group. It's not going to be, well, right. Soma Talk, Michael Goldberg did post it, but it's not on my other groups. They're putting it strategically in some groups. So.
Well, it was published on Medium, okay? So it's published by a group calling themselves the Soma Parents of Black Children. So it's not associated with any of the groups that we're familiar with, Soma Justice, Soma Action, Community Coalition on Race. It seems to be...
it's a mix of everybody.
It seems to be authored. Now, I did a ballpark count. Like 130 parents seemingly signed it and are in agreement with some of the statements that were made. Let's just get right into it. You know, let's jump. Yeah, I thought maybe we would talk a little bit about.
I don't know. That was a rough letter.
Yeah. So again, it's from the Soma Parents of Black Children. So again, that's not a group that I'm familiar with. I don't believe that's a group that's existed.
I don't think it's a group that exists. No.
Yeah, and it says, I'll just read a little bit of it and we'll discuss it. So we, the undersigned, are black. We, the undersigned, are parents of black children who live in the South Orange Maplewood. Soma. We are interwoven into all aspects of the vibrant Soma community, from the political, literary, and educational to the artistic and everything in between. We are diverse and united by our love for our children, the community, and our beliefs that all children deserve to be seen, valued, and afforded a sense of belonging.
Okay, that part, that's fine.
I'm digging that.
That part, we're good.
I'm digging that. A recent case that has garnered national attention has made clear that has created havoc that the organization Black Parents Workshop, BBW, and that's our friend James Davis,
yes.
Who's been in... and discussed the situation involving the Sanchez, why he was ultimately arrested and charged with a crime which he has since been exonerated. A grand jury is no longer pursuing that. But what they go on to say here is, at the heart of the case and with all cases involving BPW is a vulnerable black child and family in need of support. It is because we care for this child and all of our kids who need a lifeline in the most urgent moments of need that we are speaking up.
From what I'm gathering here, they're kind of saying like this child reached out to them and was not happy with what PPW did. That's kind of where it sounds like it's going.
See, I wasn't sure that. My take on it was that they're saying, hey, we want to talk about this child. This is a vulnerable child. This is a child that's been through the ringer, has been perhaps treated unfairly. By whom? I want to find out.
But why would they talk about this child if they, unless they have a reason to say something that they reach out to the family, and the family was like, well, we really didn't like.
So not once during the rest of the letter is that child mentioned again. They veer off in this letter. We sign this letter to make clear to our neighbors and public officials that the Black Parents Workshop, a group that may seem to represent black families in South Orange and Maplewood, does not represent us or what we believe in. BPW has no membership, holds no workshops. It consists of the chairman, James Davis, a resident of South Orange, and its founder, Walter Fields, who lives in Maryland. Then they go on to talk about all the things they don't like about BPW.
Quick question. Does there have to be someone that represents all the black family in Maplewood? Like, because it seems like they want to find someone that is like, because she says, oh, PPW doesn't represent the black family, but nobody does.
I can't imagine any group that fully represents all the black people in Maplewood or all the Jewish people in Maplewood or all the Dominican people in Maplewood. I mean, we're all individuals. I mean, certainly, again, this was signed by 130 people who I'm not sure they all read the fine print. And there are some bigger names in there, former mayor, Maplewood mayor.
I just know that Black Parent Workshop have never made a statement that they represent the entire black community. They've never claimed that, and I don't know why they think that black parents have claimed to be that.
And they claim it's really almost not an organization. They go on to talk about how it's not a 501c3. That's for them is a big deal that BPW is not a 501c3, which by the way, Soma Justice is. So, but I'm not sure BPW ever claimed to be Soma Justice.
Well, Soma Justice became not too long ago to be a 501c3.
Yeah,
they were not at the beginning.
No, so I'm not sure, but basically they kind of say you're not a real organization. You don't represent anybody. You're just basically James Davis and Walter Fields. But then they go on to talk about BPW objected to the suspension moratorium, which basically the kids. Black kids were getting suspended too much. I guess a lot of these groups, felt this needs to be stopped, and according to them, BPW disagreed with that. BPW spoke out against renaming of the Jefferson School.
I cannot believe they brought that up.
Yeah, I mean, right, Dalia Bolden. I mean, again, there is nobody who knows who Dalia Bolden was before this was brought up. And by the way, the kids didn't want to name it Bolden. They asked the kids who they wanted to name it after.
I heard a lot of people complaining that it was the adults that picked the name, and they did not let the kids decide the name.
Who had picked Ginsburg.
Which they had a list.
They picked Ginsburg, a Supreme Court justice, and so that's, wow, kids, beautiful. What? And then they said, we're going to name it after this first African-American woman to graduate from Columbia High School, as far as we know. This was a very long time ago. There's also nothing about this Bolden when she grew up. We don't know what she became. We don't know where she moved to. We don't know who she married.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Why is it a problem if PPW was against it? Why is that a problem? Don't they have a right to have an opinion and say, I don't agree? Why is that a problem?
Well, I guess what they're saying is they make such bad decisions, this BPW. How dare they say that they represent the African-American families? But
I just don't understand why PPW can't have a voice. Like, what is it wrong for them to... this is what I have a problem with some of these social group, that if you dare to have a different opinion, they go after you. And there's several groups like that.
Sure.
And this is a clear example that PPW doesn't agree with them. Now they have to make this letter that against them. Like, why? Why can't you accept people's opinion? Why? Why does it? What, we have to kiss the ring? I mean, even if we don't agree with you?
So I guess the thing we haven't mentioned yet is this letter came out just a few days after Sanchez was, the charges were dropped against Sanchez.
Why bring that letter now?
So this letter must have been written, it must have been authored, it must have been ready to go.
Oh, it was ready to go.
It's a very long, well-written, excellently written letter with 130 former Mayor McGahee has signed it. The former Board of Ed members have signed it.
There's two former Board of Ed members.
So it's got some big names on there. So
a former major,
right? And so look at some of the other things that the Medium article mentions.
I find the timing of this letter very...
It came out too fast. You could not have gotten 130 people to sign that thing a day after the charges were dropped. You waited until the Black Panther Workshop... I said it again. I said Black Panther.
But they forgot to mention something.
Black Parents Workshop. I apologize to James. You know what? You and I joked about that, and it stuck in my head. Black Parents Workshop, but James... Listen to BPW voice support for the presence of armed police in our schools. Okay, so that's another thing. So they've got a problem with the fact that, according to them, Black Parents Workshop believes that there should be some armed guards or something to protect the kids in school.
I think there should be. There's something should be. I mean, this Elizabeth School District, we have several security.
Right.
Are they armed? I have not seen the arms. I haven't seen the guns, but we do have at least 3 in the school.
Look, there's been a lot of violence around the nation.
And
there
trust
was a lot
me,
of
it's Elizabeth School.
right, and right, you have it in the Elizabeth school system. You have police that are.
We don't have police, but we got
armed guards?
security.
You have
We
armed
got
guards.
security.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're armed. I've never seen the gun. I cannot say that.
Right,
If
right.
they have it, it's
Yeah.
not visible.
And again, I don't know, but then look. So and by the here's where my head started to spin a little bit. BPW has supported school board candidates who campaign on promises to undermine the integration plan through policies like the transfer portal. So we could get all into that. But now they're saying BPW has supported school board candidates. But then you claim, well, they're not a 501c3. Why is that? Because they're supporting school board candidates, I guess. If you're a 501c3, you can't do that. You can't support candidates and go out and endorse candidates. So this whole thing is mind-blowing. And I'm not defending James Davis. I said he's a friend of ours, but you know what? I was very happy when Sanchez, the charges were dropped. He did not belong in prison.
No, that part I did agree. 10 years was ridiculous, and I think that specific charge was brutal. But could have been, if they wanted to pursue it, it could have been the lesser.
And then they go down and they start to refer to this. They compare it to Moms for Liberty. To be clear, these are positions and actions
What
that
is
one would
Moms for
expect from the most
Liberty?
conservative, anti-black, anti-DEI organizations such as Moms for Liberty. It's just like
What is Moms for Liberty?
like a white nationalist movement,
But
a
what
right-wing.
What is Mom for Liberty?
Yeah.
I've had several people who are like, I don't know what it is.
but
What
yeah.
is it? It's they hide it. We don't even know who created it. I'll even go further. Do you?
No, I mean, it's basically, so that's what they're accusing him of being. And then they go, we believe that our children deserve all that South Orange Maple School District has to offer, and we know blah, 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 and they go on and on and on, and, but again, not once is that child mentioned again. The child that, according to the child and the child's family, was victimized at school. There was some type of incident. By the way, while the criminal charges have been dropped, the civil charges remain, and that's where James Davis is and the BPW has been or focused from the beginning. They are looking for some type of monetary damage.
Is it monetary, or they just want to the person that is guilty take some responsibility?
I guess ultimately
They haven't talked about money.
No.
I'm sure money is involved, but
I mean, James had said if originally the school had handled this immediately and suspended the principal and they could have done an investigation, he's like, none of this would have happened.
I agree.
But he said they went ahead and they wanted to sweep it under the carpet like it never happened, despite the fact they suspended the Herman hijab gate immediately, even though she had done nothing wrong as far as I'm concerned. And they also suspended another teacher immediately. So he was like, why not the principal? So he said a year, it took so long. He's like, now it's time for somebody to pay for the damage they've done. But why is this article start out about this girl, and then that's the last we hear about the girl? Ileana.
But what else can they add to the girl? What else?
I don't know. Like we would like.
I feel like they feel like PBW misrepresents her. It kind of feels that way.
Yeah, but why? Then I'm just.
Another thing that they didn't mention in that little letter is that I don't know if many people know, but most of those people were supporting to keep the superintendent Taylor, and PBW was one of them that did not support that decision.
So,
but they don't say that.
Excellent point. So if you go to the article on Medium, there's a call to action where you can link onto their call to action, and that brings you to basically it brings you to a Board of Ed site, which talks about the SOMSD Intentional Integration Initiative III. So now they want you to read up on what the Intentional Integration Initiative III, which was basically spearheaded by the Office of the Superintendent, I guess when Taylor was there.
Taylor, yeah.
And this focuses on equity and access, including developing an integration plan that ensures that the students' population in each school are reflective of our district's diversity and on fostering innovation in our elementary schools. That's basically what Rocio was here talking about. Rocio Lopez, the head of the teachers union, she's like, you're shipping kids from one side of town to the other. They don't have buses. They can't get to school on time. It's turned into a complete disaster.
They're now looking into the human factor.
So they want so ultimately the Soma parents of black children Medium article at the end of the day, is
So what are they accusing Black Parents Workshop about that? What is their link? What does Black Parents have to do with any of that?
So this became like with 130 signees, this became a political statement. This
To
is
be
their
honest
call.
with you, that's not a lot of signs. Do you know how many people live in both towns?
Yeah, I mean, it's
130. Yeah, some of them are very big mouth, loud mouth. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
sure, yeah,
I
yeah.
should have said loud mouth.
you
Yes,
know,
I agree.
People that have
Now,
have,
if you tell me
yeah.
there's 2,000 or 3,000 signatures, I'll be like, okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
something.
Well, you know what? The thing is, now that it's out there, I'm sure there are more signatures that they're rolling up. You know, because they're saying you could sign on. You know, so now there's an opportunity for you or me, or I
Okay,
guess.
let me ask you this. What do you think is the cause of that letter? What's the point of doing that letter? To make the PPW look bad?
As far as I'm concerned,
What?
I
want to know. What's the end of
It's
game?
not about Frank Sanchez, though it should be. It's not about the teenage girl that was at the heart of this situation with Sanchez, though it should be. It seems to be about telling everybody know that BPW is no fucking good and fuck them, and basically, you know what, listen to us, don't listen to them. And by the way, if you want to know who we are, we're the Soma parents of black children. You've never heard of us before. So, but then,
I don't know about that.
so it's controversial. It's typical Soma.
Do you want me to tell you a fun fact?
Yeah, sure.
Did you know that once upon a time, all these people at Black Parents Workshop were friends. They worked together. At one point, when Walter,
Yeah, sure.
when Walter still was living here,
Right.
when Walter, what's his first name?
Fields.
Walter Fields.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
When he used to live here, him and James, they used to work with all these social CCR, some justice, but down the road, something happened that don't ask me. That would be a question we can ask James or whoever from some justice want to come and talk about that. They broke apart. Until this day, it's like they're enemies. Like something big happened that they cannot like.
No, and they're using this opportunity to bury the Black I keep saying it, damn it, the Black Parents Workshop. James, I apologize. We got to do something about the name. Can we call it the something else? But no. But look, bottom line is, you know.
It's sad.
You spoke to James, I believe, and he's busy. He said he'd love to come in and discuss what's going on.
Well, I reached out to him because I said, do you want to respond to this letter?
Yeah.
And at the moment, he's busy. He has some things going on.
He has a lot going on.
But he said that hopefully next week someday he
also said that he would love to sit here and talk to some of the signees, one of the signees or someone who signed this letter to say, hey, do you know what you signed? Did you read the fine print? Did you go ahead and did you aware that this was going to be more, this wasn't going to be about the student, this wasn't going to be
that's
about...
what I admire about James, that James is willing to confront one of those people that signed this letter and sit down and talk and debate about what they wrote.
Sure.
But the funny part is that you've reached out.
I've reached out to quite a few people. I've gotten no responses.
Don't say any names.
No, right. No, I'm not going to say names. But in all fairness, basically for most of them, I'm reaching out to them on Messenger, you know, which not a lot of people use. It's like the worst communication tool of them all, you know, off of Facebook. But you know, you could see that some people saw it, some didn't. But you know, yeah, we'd like to get somebody here who...
I appreciate James wanting to. I would. If someone goes after my organization, I would like to have a sit down and say, like, hey, what's going on? Like, do you need me to clarify all this?
You got Frank McGay, he's a great guy, former mayor, fantastic public speaker. You know, he ran for the assembly. I mean, you know, this guy's I'd love that.
Well, he signed it. Would be nice if
Frank, you should come in. You should talk to James, and everybody should have. We got to come to some type of understanding here that they're going to. Black BPW exists. They're going to continue to exist. This was a hit and run.
I just feel bad because I feel like this letter is putting black people, the black community, or you pick them or you pick us. It seems that way,
and you know
that's not fair.
Right? No, this is
like, are you
crazy.
Against us or you're with us?
Right, and
I don't think James is doing the wrong thing. I mean, you might not agree with his method or his decision, but
I mean, I'm sure Sanchez thinks he's doing the wrong thing, but this girl, this family. So basically, to your 130 who signed this letter and listening to this right now, what about the teenage girl? Someone tell me what about her? What should we do about her? Should we just assume she was lying and piss off and don't pull that shit again? Does she deserve to be treated with respect?
You know what's funny? Now that you're saying that, this is the first time all these socialist group mention this girl because they were all about Sanchez.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, now they're concerned about the girl because never once they mentioned about the girl.
Absolutely.
I didn't see CCR mentioning about this girl. I didn't hear some of Justice mention about the girl.
No.
On the contrary, they were all about Sanchez.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, this letter,
Yeah.
all these social groups now signing, and now they are concerned about this girl.
For 5
Like-
seconds. They're concerned about the girl for 5 seconds, which basically, again, it's like, hello, write a letter about the girl and what you're going to do to help her and her family. Now, James told us this is an immigrant family.
From Haiti.
From Haiti. I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but for all intents and purposes, it sounded like a family that, could is not setting the world on fire.
Don't you think they should have supported the girl when all this come out and not after the
I mean,
fact?
but there's politics involved. So Sanchez and Taylor, they come in. They're a team, I guess, and they're going to do the initiative that we were just talking about, the III initiative. And this is going to go ahead, and this was the political move. This was going to turn. I mean, I remember them saying this is going to change the school systems of America. We are pioneers.
And why are a lot of parents are not supporting this or do not like it? Don't you see every day we see a parents crying about, oh, my kid was the only one in this street that had to go 2 miles away, or not all of his friends are like, it's sad.
It's very sad, and so now parents, schools coming to an end. Take a deep breath. The year. I'm sure this was a year of hell for many of you. But do understand that the call to action on this letter it brings you to understanding the III, the Intentional Integration Initiative, which basically is taking the school system through an algorithm and making sure that all the schools,
and no one knows how that algorithm
no one knows
works.
how it works, and that all the schools have a certain amount of each different type of child, black and blue and red and black and short and tall and dumb and smart and whatnot, as opposed to saying, hey, you got a school 5 minutes away from you, go to that school. No, you're going to go to the school on the other side of town because your profile fits that school, not the school that you bought your house next to. It's nonsense.
Well,
it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
Just for our listeners, Lee and I have been talking about bringing someone to talk about the intentional integration initiative because a lot of people don't know what is it about. We all know what does, but they don't know the details of how it works, what it is, what's going to do to your child. I personally don't know very much about it. You asked me about it, I wouldn't give you a lot of detail. I know that it's about shifting kids around, but that's my extent of it.
I can't even spell some of the words in the intentional integration initiative. So I guarantee if you had to just write that without looking, I'd misspell it. So that's as much as I know about it. So you have to write. So we have talked to some guys that.
So let me ask you this:
familiar
these people that signed this letter, are they against it or they're go for it?
I'm not sure that some of them even realize it's attached as a call to action. I think a lot of people just said, "Hey, I agree with that. I agree that this was a bad thing for Sanchez. I'll sign that." But again, I don't know. It's my opinion, And so anyway, I think we Ileana, I think we've really hit a home run here, you and I, and
well,
on this
I'm
topic.
just going to tell you that James did confirm me that he's willing to sit down with anybody that signed that letter face to face. He's willing to sit down with you, and he said they truly want answers to the information they have falsely and incorrectly described in the letter. He will be here next week to address any question the public has to send. Well, he just said that if anybody of our listeners have any questions regarding this letter that you want James Davis to respond, please let us know. You can contact Lee or me or do it in Soma Talks. Just write your answers and we will ask James. But I hope that any of the listeners that did sign this letter or anybody that know one of these people, can you tell them that James is willing to sit down and face them?
That's cool. Oh, and by the way, Ileana, changing the subject just a little bit, white parents have responded with a similar letter. We, the undersigned, are parents of white children who live in South Orange, Maplewood. We are interwoven into all aspects of the vibrant community. They go on to say that, okay, so it looks okay. We as parents of white children demand lobster rolls at the town pool. So they would like the lobster rolls back at the town pool at the concession stand. They also, yes, because they say it's delicious when you're sunbathing, lobster rolls. And they also want valet parking at the Short Hills Mall.
Is there anything from the Latin community?
Yeah. Latin community, let's see, anything from the Latin community? No, they're just, they're happy you're coming home. Put it through their way. They can't wait to see you. There's gonna be a big party down in the Dominican Republic.
Right.
You're all dolled up for it. You got your toes done. You look great. Ileana, by the way, she looks fantastic, ladies and gentlemen.
No. I have a sinus infection. I don't know if people can hear it in my voice, but I don't know. Going home with this sinus, the airplane doesn't help at all.
Yeah, I wish you told me. I would move the microphone back a little bit.
It's sinus infection. I don't have a cold.
Yeah, okay. Just don't spit on me, whatever you do.
No.
You see, the one woman got a ticket in South Orange. I don't know if you saw that. Just hit the. Somebody posted it.
What ticket for what?
Yeah, I guess she was like with a bullhorn. She was pulling some shit in South Orange.
Oh, yeah. Someone posted that. For those that don't know.
Village Green article.
There was a woman that caught a lady walking in the village, and she ripped off a poster of what?
That was another case. That was another. Right,
this is another case.
Yeah. So this is Village Green. Mary Mann, the amazing author, writer, I should say, journalist. West Orange resident is saying that she is being targeted because she is black after she received summons related to a ceasefire rally in South Orange on March 31st. South Orange police chief says that more than one person received summons related to the incident, but did not indicate who received summons. So the woman, I'm not going to say her name on the podcast. She received two summons for a June 18th municipal court date, one for organizing a special event without a permit, and the other is for loud, continuous, excessive noise via amplification equipment.
What was she doing? What was she?
She had a bullhorn, I guess, and she's like, ceasefire now, tell the River, Tennessee. I don't know what she was saying, but she was chanting, but she claims she never led the protests or chants. So she said that her summons are unwarranted, but not a surprise, considering that a report published about police brutality and racism in New Jersey called the Force Report states that black people in South Orange are 9 times more likely to experience police brutality than white people. In response to this request for comment, the South Orange police chief said, because this is a pending municipal court case, we are not inclined to offer any specific comment at this time. The court administrator can advise you as to whether or not, whatever. But then he says, this is the best part. However, he did share, no one was charged with a criminal act, and as such, we do not release names of parties involved. If people choose to share their information voluntarily, there's nothing preventing them from doing so. So in other words, nobody needs to know about this, except the woman went ahead and she made a big deal about it. Now it's in the article, and,
But what about the one that was walking in Maplewood Village and she ripped
tearing down posters, right?
What was the poster about?
It was hostages. It's pictures of hostages. Yeah, this woman, this jackass is fucking ripping down goddamn fucking posters.
There was a lot of debate about that because a lot of people was like, why can't she rip it off?
Right,
like, that was her right.
You have a right to be a fucking asshole. I mean, in this country, you have a right to be a fucking asshole. And this woman, it was being a fucking asshole. She was doing something that really angered and bothered other people. These are hostages being held away from their family.
To be fair, technically, she can rip off the flyer.
Yeah, I guess so.
But makes it look like a douchey.
Right. It's a douchey move. And somebody wrote, like, you have a right to do that. And by the way, they're not allowed to hang them there on those. Somebody actually was saying, they're not allowed to hang them. All right, fine. You're not allowed to hang them. But you know what?
Have the decency.
This is a little different. This is a little different. This is hostages, including American hostages that are been, you know what? And every once in a while, it's okay to hang something up like that to remind people that there are people that are in hell right now. And this douchey douche, as you said.
When do you think this is going to end for you guys, for the Jewish community? Like, when the hostage come back, hopefully, come back, is that going to be like, at least part of peace?
My mother-in-law was just reading a book. She's a very brilliant woman, my mother-in-law, and she was telling me, and I forgot the name of the book of the author. I'm sorry, Kathy. But it was basically it was the surrender of Japan. It was about the World War II. So we drop a bomb on Hiroshima, right? And the atom bomb, the atomic bomb. and Japan still didn't surrender. They still didn't surrender because what happened was I think you had some older leaders that wanted to, but the younger leaders were like they believed in we die. We go to the death. So we drop another bomb, and still they didn't surrender. We were gonna go ahead and we were gonna drop a bomb on Tokyo next. We were just days away from dropping a bomb.
Oh, that's when they said that's enough.
And that was when it was enough. So I'm not saying that nuclear war is how it ends in Gaza, but what I am saying is that eventually, when you're getting the shit kicked out of you, someone needs to surrender. And this Hamas, they're never going to surrender because they want the death to Israel. And if every Palestinian person has to die for them to have Israel also die, that's their goal. They're lunatics. They are lunatics, and they're backed by Iran. And so, is that the beginning of World War III? I don't know, but you know what, people? Next time you march down the street to the river, to the sea, understand who the enemy is.
There's a lot going on in this world.
Right? Yeah, and it's not Israel. It's not Israel.
No, there's a lot going on in this world. Israel is one in the Palestinian conflict. That's one of the biggest problems, but there's other problems too.
So anyway, so to get to the rabbis, we're going to go to the rabbis in a moment. Here's the issue we had, Ileana. We're interviewing them on Zoom for the first time. We're using Zoom in our podcast studio, and there was a technical problem which we weren't anticipating, and all of a sudden we got a countdown that our podcast was going to end in a few minutes. So when you listen to the podcast, understand we were planning to spend an hour with them. After 25 minutes or so, we started to get this message, or 20 minutes or so.
So we kind of rushed it a little bit at the end.
We rushed it a little bit. Rabbi Daniel Cohen of TSTI in South Orange. I'm sure most of you know him, a wonderful man. Rabbi Matthew Gewirtz of B'nai Jesuin in Livingston. So please stick around for that for the continuation of this podcast coming up in just a moment. Ileana, I'll talk to you soon. And welcome to the Soma Talks podcast, sponsored by Coda Kitchen and Senor Sangria. I'm Lee Navin, and once again, I am joined by at times my very contentious co-host, Ileana Castillo.
Yay!
Hello, Ileana. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you very much.
Good.
Always good to see you. We're joined today by two very special guests. That's Rabbi Daniel Cohen of TSTI. That's in South Orange. Correct, Rabbi? And
correct, and so glad to be here.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And that's not all. We also have Rabbi Matthew Gewirtz of B'nai Jesuin. So, rabbis, thank you for joining us.
This
is fantastic. I appreciate it. My first question to both of you is, Ileana would love to go to a Jewish singles night, but she's afraid she may have to convert. So, could you help her out there? Is there anything you could do to,
you never know.
Get her to join the team, so to speak?
Got jokes.
Lots of eligible Jews around, so
really good to know.
Come our way, and we'll talk after.
We'll talk after. Okay. Thank you.
There you go. But I just want to tell you real quickly about Ileana. She runs the Soma Talks. It's a Facebook group that's based out of Maplewood, South Orange. And shortly after the attacks on October 7th, or on the day of the attacks on October 7th, she immediately took the background and she made it the Israeli flag, the Star of David. And she has been very, very supportive of the Jewish people. I know. And I was shocked early on to see some of the comments she was receiving. I'm surprised you put that up there.
Oh, they were brutal.
There was some tough stuff, and I said, "Wow." And as as a Jewish man, and as Jewish people, we're seeing a lot of hate right now that I think is shocking to many of us. Your thoughts on that, rabbis?
Look how kind and generous we're being to each other. I'll jump in. It's been miserable for us. We noticed anti-Semitism increasing over the last 5, 8, 10 years, but I never in my wildest dreams imagined that it would be as vitriolic and as significant and as prevalent as it's become. And it's not stopping. Even with the closing of the college campuses, there's been things happening around that have really put the fear of God into people.
No, I agree, Rabbi Cohen. And even locally here in Soma, on Sundays, it's not uncommon to see, free Gaza signs and, and some real nasty comments and signs about Israel and chants from the river to the sea. Are our local politicians, are they, are our state politicians, right up to the president, is enough being done about this?
So let me jump in. And first, Ileana, I want to say thank you, first off,
Oh, you're
for
very
doing what you
welcome.
did. Because you know, as my friend and my colleague just said, Rabbi Gewirtz just said, we're already seeing the uptick in Jew hatred. If my wife works for the ADL, so I was seeing that in a very different way. So, you know, Matt and I are both, you know, concerned with working with our congregations, supporting our congregations, but also keeping them secure. And I'm seeing from my wife's side, like the numbers and the stats of it, and to know that there are allies who just their automatic response is to show their support is beautiful. Because one of the things people have forgotten is that on October 7th already, we saw demonstrations against Israel that were already bleeding over into the ugliness toward the Jewish community before Israel even started a response. So to know that there are people who are immediately, that their core is to be supportive in their response is something which is beautiful.
I appreciate that. I thought that the Jewish community needed a safe space for them to have an opinion, have a voice, vent. And apparently some social media groups were not, they deleted their post. And I thought that was very unfair. So I was like, no, you can post whatever you want, whatever you feel. I understand what the Jewish community is going through. And I gave them that platform. Yeah. And I'm happy that I did it. Like I say, I was Jewish in another time, but I'm happy that I can give any kind of support I can give to the Jewish community. I will be there.
And Ileana, I know I appreciate it. She's been a great friend. Rabbis, I joke, but you know, she'll say, "Do you need me to walk you home?" You know, jokingly, she'll you know, but she's very sympathetic to our situation. Now, me personally, you know, I'm a little loud and proud about being Jewish, and I'm not shy about being Jewish. And you know, and when I see these people, you know, I'm not yelling out the window. I'd like to, you know, but should we, as a Jewish people, should we be louder about the hate, or you know, do we kind of just say, "Hey, this too shall pass," and you know, ignore it, live your life? What are your recommendations for us? You know, I guess, you know, as people living very odd times.
For me, it's not the latter. It's not, I don't feel like this is going to pass. In fact, I think that this has probably been building up, and we've been sleeping while it's been building, and didn't realize it. And I'll just speak for myself and take that on. I'm complicit in that. I thought about 15 years ago that was the last anti-Semitism sermon I'd ever give, because it felt like we really were beginning to, you know, seamlessly become part of society, and it wasn't a big deal to be Jewish. And so much so that I think a lot of Jews didn't make it a priority themselves. I'm not judging them. I just think they felt safe enough not to have to affiliate with synagogues or Jewish life. And so the question is, how do we respond? I'm not against loud and proud. I always preach that to my congregation. I do think for the first time that we have to be careful about where we're loud and proud, because I think there are people who are actually really in danger. If you look at the New York City subways in the last few days, and you look at college campuses, it's not just protests against Jews, it's been violent. And I think that counter protests sometimes can cause just, you know, it's there to be performative, but I think we have to be strategic about how it is that we respond, and also make sure that like-minded people, I mean, all allies against all hate, come together and stand up for each other. So this is not just to me about Jews. It is right now, but I think it's about all hate. They often say that anti-Semitism is an early warning system for hate that's about to permeate the whole society.
Right, and Rabbi,
we are the
I'm sorry, I
canary
believe
in the
I
coal mine.
called you Rabbi Cohen before. I apologize for that, but that was Rabbi Gewirtz. Rabbi Cohen, you were saying?
No, so first off, I completely agree with Rabbi Gewirtz, and I think we are very often the canary in the coal mine for societies. But you know what I would say is, I would say loud, proud, smart, and strategic.
Okay.
Trying to get louder and shout down, I don't think that necessarily does anything. But part of what I think there are attempts to do is to marginalize and to have us hide. You know, the scene that Matt mentioned on the subway, where, you know, are there any Zionists on this subway? Right. The goal there is intimidation and to make us quiet. Well, I have no intention and no interest of being quiet, but I also want to be smart about things. You know, I think back to when I was in rabbinic school a long time ago. I TA'd a class at USC on Holocaust and ethics. And I was asked if I ever thought that it could happen here in America by a student. And I said, never. I said, the foundation of America is just different than Europe. We don't have that history. We have the legal system. I still believe that I still think there's cause for optimism. I think law enforcement, the majority of our government officials have been terrific. We have a voice, but I think that the reactions and the ugliness, especially since October 7th, have taken a lot of us by surprise. I mean, I'll speak for myself, Rabbi Gewirtz, but you know, Rabbi Gewirtz and I, 3 weeks after the attack, actually flew over to Israel together, and then we're with the Federation mission, and we stayed. To fly to Israel in the middle of a war and to feel like that was a bit of a respite for 4 days, is a very bizarre thing.
Very interesting. Right.
But that's how it felt.
That's.
I don't know, Matt. Did you feel this? I don't know if you felt the same way, but
100. I mean, I've now been 2 times besides that, and I feel like those are my vacations from anti-Semitism in America, which is a crazy thing to say, but I totally agree.
You're amongst friends in Israel, and you come back to your home, and you say, these neighbors that I thought were just like me have a completely different opinion of the world at large. And so, because I've heard, you know, and I get a little aggravated at times, you know, that this was what it was, the rise of Hitler and Nazi Germany, and, you know, I said, come on, but maybe they're not so crazy to think that. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to have another Holocaust by any stretch of the imagination, but that this could be not a very inviting country for the Jewish people.
I think hate's a cancer, and it quickly metastasizes. I don't care what type of hate. And if you allow it to do its thing, it will metastasize. And before you know it, it's out of control. The unfortunate, the painful, one of the hard things here is I think that a lot of the people that we've worked with for years on issues that continue to be important to me were utterly silent, if not antagonistic. And so apparently a lot of the issues that we say, we will not accept this is not okay, that applies to everybody except when you're talking about Jews, let alone about Zionists. And I'm Jewish and I'm a Zionist. I'm also a proud American. And very often there's this double standard of, you know, what we're saying isn't anti-Semitic. Well, you know what? If I'm told that something I said was sexist or racist, it's not up to me to debate that, to litigate that. It's up to me to say, wow, I'm sorry, and let me find a better way to say it. But if I say that was anti-Semitic, they'll say, no, it wasn't. Yeah, it was.
Right.
Yeah, it was. And the people get to define that are Jews.
Yeah. A lot of families are dealing with this right now, Ileana. I know you've mentioned this to me before in the past. I think you said, Ileana said something to the degree of, boy, when these college kids get home, you know, these parents are going to have a lot of work, because maybe even some Jewish kids too are at the school, and, you know, you want to fit in and you want to go with the majority as teenagers do, and you come home and you say to your parents, well, you know, those Zionists and Netanyahu and why are they doing this, and you know, that was a pushback, you know, by Hamas and whatever these statements are. What do you say to these families? What's your recommendation for these parents?
Well, I think let me start with this, that I am a big believer in protests. I think it's part of the fabric and foundation of our country and our history. And I think we have to be very careful, because I think oftentimes the youth movements are telling us something that really is very painful to hear, and we reject it because we don't want to hear it. And that the protest movements often age well. If you look at, you know, what protesters during the days of Vietnam were protesting for, we look back and they were so right about so many things, and they were seen as hippies, as hoodlums, as, you know, whatever you want to call them. But the difference between then and now is there was a depth, there was a philosophy, there was a real movement that was about something that was incredibly profound. And my issue with today's protest is not the protest itself as an act, but as the simplistic nature of what the protest is, meaning that, we've been forced into false binaries. You're either the oppressor class or you're the oppressed. You're a colonialist, an imperialist, or you believe in freedom for anyone that is under oppression. And believe me, I am unbelievably anti-oppression, but this story is a complicated story that goes back at least 76 years, if not longer than that. And if people want to sit and have that conversation, I actually am very open to that conversation of talking through the nuances and talking through the iterations of it. But to be told that you are either this or that, and there's no choice otherwise, is so opposite and antithetical to what the world is, that the first thing I would do, and I do have a college-age kid who didn't come home saying those things, but the first thing I would do is sit down and ask my kid if he or she understands the history of what it is that they're protesting against. Because when you just, I know everyone sees this as a cliche joke. If you ask anyone on the street what river to the sea means, most of them are lucky if they even know the sea is the Mediterranean. They certainly don't know that the river is the Jordan River. They don't know.
Right.
So they're protesting with placards and with statements that I don't think they completely understand. That sounds infantilizing. I don't mean it to sound that way, but I think we better get deep with our kids, because right now it's superficial protest to me.
Yeah, Ileana, I know that we were talking a little bit about, she was at the Pride Festival this few days back, and there's a local Facebook group, I think they call themselves Soma Palestine, and they were planning to attend the Pride Festival, and it's like, boy.
I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
These people are very well organized. These Soma Palestinian here in this community, they seem to have their thing together. Like, they are very
They're dangerously organized.
They're very prepared, and they're very well organized, and it seems like they're everywhere. They're doing this, they're doing that. They're coming into, like, Mayfest. There was a big parade of Soma Palestinian with their flag, and I said something on my group like, what about the Jewish community? Like, you're trying to get away from this, have a nice day with your kids and family to enjoy a nice, beautiful day, and then now you got to deal with this parade? Like, when does it stop? Like, what did these parents have to tell their kids when they see these, like, right, singing to the river, to the sea and all this? Like, come on. Like, now it's getting too much. And this is where my question comes. Have you guys reached to the local politician to see how we can resolve these anti-Israel movements happening in Maplewood, South Orange? And if you have, what's their intake?
So first off, I just want to go back to something Robert Gewirtz said, which is that, I fully support demonstrations, speaking out, right? And that group had every right if they wanted to be at Pride Fest, and I was there. My congregation was proud to be there. It was a beautiful day. They have every right to be there. The issue is, what do they do when they're there, right? There's the Nova exhibit in New York, and there were these demonstrations outside of it, which were ugly. That's not the idea of positive demonstration that will actually advance the cause of peace. Right. But to advocate for something you believe in is totally appropriate. As far as politicians, I think most of the rabbis in this area have had a lot. I've never spent as much time talking with local politicians in the school district, and some of our politicians, local elected officials, have been phenomenal. Some have been neutral, and some have been really problematic. The school district, we were all taken by surprise, and the school district was a little bit slow to respond, I think, but they have been I found them to be really responsive. There's a group of us who've been meeting regularly, and they've been, they haven't gotten everything right. We haven't gotten everything right, but they've listened, and they've been thoughtful, and I've watched their sensitivity grow as they've changed. As far as our politicians go,
the township committee or the trustees, how do you feel? Like, do you feel they have your support, or?
And Rabbi Gewirtz, I'd be curious, because we actually we've talked about a lot of stuff. We haven't talked about this. I don't understand why local town committees are taking up statements about international affairs.
Oh, so I guess you
I mean,
heard what
I
Cripe
don't really
said.
understand why there have been these resolutions, other than the fact that it's a great way to divide the community.
Do you
And
think that Cripe
unfortunately, I
statement?
love. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, do you think Cripe's statement divided the community? Like,
Oh, I absolutely think that personally, I'm
yes.
speaking only for myself. I think that her statement at that rally and her being at a town council meeting with a keffiyeh on her chair, knowing full well what it was, and then a response when I actually sent an email to her, spoke volumes about that. And I think if you're an elected official, particularly in progressive, diverse towns that take pride in that, your responsibility is to represent all of your constituents, period.
Completely agree.
And if you're taking sides with some constituents and not with others, there's something wrong.
Yeah, Rabbi, I 100% agree with
Apparently-
you. Yeah, she. I think it cost her the election. You got involved in something that you knew little about, and I think the Jewish community stepped up to the plate and said, no, we're not voting for you, and she lost, rather handily.
You guys are very well organized. It cost her. I think it cost her the election as well.
Hey, what do I do?
Apparently the reason I've always wondered also why every one of these local town councils, not just in our towns, but throughout the state and throughout the country, are taking this up. Apparently,
All right.
if you get enough of them that make these statements, what happens is that sort of moves it on up to the congressional seats. And they then have to pay attention, and they think it could sort of move the national needle, which is what's dangerous about it. And you know what's really, really hard about this is that before 8 months ago, I would be myself very open to a free Palestine poster, the national aspirations of Palestinians. In fact, I still very wholeheartedly believe the Palestinians should have their own homeland. But what's happened with the last 8 months is they've been co-opted so that you never know if someone has a free Palestine sticker or a Palestinian flag or a keffiyeh, if it means simply Palestinian aspiration to their own national homeland, or does it mean that and the destruction of the state of Israel? And it's just a shame because my sense is that I totally agree with there being a Palestinian state and Palestinian statehood, but somehow it's morphed into that at the expense of eradicating Jews, or at least Israelis. And now it's hard to know when to support what. And if I see a keffiyeh, I've never been scared of seeing a keffiyeh. Suddenly now I can't tell, is it Palestinian statehood or is it that plus extermination of the Jews? And that's really, really smartly done by those who are putting this together. And because it's very hard to read.
Rabbi, we only have a few minutes left. Rabbis, I should say, we only have a few minutes left. I know, Rabbi Gewirtz, I know you've written extensively on so many subjects. Recommendations for local Jewish community, non-Jews, where you should read, learn, study, understand more on this issue. Any suggestions on?
Yeah, it's a great question because there's so many silos these days that it's hard to know where you're going for what information. So I actually go to the source. It's very easy to read the Israeli press in English. And a very dear friend, someone who I know decently well, but is very dear to Rabbi Cohen, is Yossi Klein Halevi, his name is. And he often writes for Times of Israel. I read anything that he writes because he speaks obviously from the Israeli perspective, but has never been anything but open to other thoughts out there. And there's a book written by someone who was sort of excluded from the writing community for a while for different reasons, but he's back in. His name is Ari Shavit, and it's called My Promised Land. And I've never read anything that's as fair and even-handed as it relates to every single aspect of Israeli society. It's written 10 years ago, but it holds up today on many different levels.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Noah Tishby's book on Israel is also very accessible. It's kind of light, got a little bit of an attitude in it, a little bit of language, but factually, it's actually quite good. And then I would also add to that, Yossi and Rabbi Daniel Hartman have a podcast called For Heaven's Sake, which is amazing, which is really powerful because it is so thoughtful and so intelligent and so heartfelt but you also hear their pain and you hear their struggle, that it isn't this, Rabbi Gewirtz mentioned this binary nature of things. Part of the challenge we have is that when you reduce things to binaries, you're either in or you're out, you're good or you're bad. And that's not life. That's certainly not Judaism, right? The Jewish community understands that life exists in the gray areas, in the middle ground. And that's what you hear on this podcast. And then the other thing, I'm reading a book by Dan Senor, and his podcast called Call Me Back is phenomenal. It is timely. It is phenomenal. And both of those podcasts have reminded me that there's still heart and soul in the midst of struggle, but also that facts still matter, which is a beautiful thing.
I have a quick question for you guys. What advice do you give for local residents that are not Jewish that want to support the Jewish neighborhood? What do you advise them? Like, if they want to support you, what can they do? Like, for example, me, I'm not Jewish, but I would love to keep supporting you. What can we do?
You're more valuable. You're a friend to the Jew.
Are you?
So we need our friends.
Do you want them to keep supporting you, like in protest or in social media, or you rather they don't get involved? Like, what do you advise for those residents that want to support the Jewish community and they're not Jewish?
That's such a beautiful question, and I'm glad Rabbi Cohen started by saying thank you, because I've never been as thankful for people who I never knew that, I needed to be stood up for here. So I would say that all of what you said is wonderful, but mostly when people hear what they hear on the streets, I think the internet is not worthwhile. I think that you can never keep up with social media and be successful. But I do think that when we're at St. James Gate, we're at CODA. I should say CODA first since they're supporting you.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, so CODA. But all those places that when the conversation starts, and it does at almost every table, you just turn around and say, oh, what do you mean? And that's not how I see things, and I'm not Jewish. And then explain why. Because I think the more people would say, because this has become like a trend, like you have to be on this anti-Zionist kick right now to be accepted into circles and to show people that you stand up. Just to have a different understanding, I think, helps us a lot.
Okay, thank you.
I would add that, Ileana, what
Yes.
you just did is actually the beautiful first step. Well, you did two things. Number one, your immediate response 8 months ago was beautiful.
Thank you.
But you asked the question, right?
Yes.
What do you need?
Yes.
That is incredibly important and powerful in and of itself. The other thing that I would also add is don't go on and push back against the hate on social media.
Okay.
Because believe it or not, that amplifies their ugliness. Post positive things yourself that will actually get seen by people and then can get amplified. But when we respond to the negative ugliness that's out there, that's what they want because it amplifies their original posts. And we don't want to be doing their job for them. The fact of the matter is this is a complex, sad, painful situation. And there are no absolutes here. But we're not going to resolve this by vilifying each other.
Correct.
Or by attacking each other constantly. That's not how we're going to resolve anything. And unfortunately, there's very little room for graciousness of heart these days, it seems. And we need more of that too.
Well, rabbis,
Look,
we are
my
out of time.
congregants.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Lee, go ahead.
No, we are out of time. I wanted to thank both of you for coming down, Zooming with us, and we'll do it again.
Yes, we'll definitely do this again.
I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you for what
time.
you're doing.
Thank you, rabbis.
Right.
Thank you. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the Soma Talks podcast. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The Soma Talks podcast name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service.